This is Hot Rod, and you're here with the Hot Shot. And my special guest is the straw that stirs the drink, the franchise. He was a professional wrestler. He's an author. He's a musician. He is so well rounded. Here we are, Wildside. Welcome to the Hot Shot.
Thank you, Hot Rod. Glad to be here, as always.
Well, we've known each other for a long time, but I think a lot of people need to know a little bit about you. Like, what is Wildside? Tell me what Wildside is.
Oh, I have no idea what Wildside is. So when I started, believe it or not, we were wrestling for SWA, and Lobo got me in to SWA, and we were training like 4 nights a week. And the guy over it, his name was Tim Jelks. Everybody called him Babyface. He had broken away from early TIWF, and of course, that's all in my book, as you know. But he had broken away from there, and he started his own promotion called the SWA. And we used to train like 4 nights a week, believe it or not. And the way we came up with the names of our characters, it was kind of left to us. We didn't have any guidance or anything. And myself and Way Cool, Bobby Swain, we were both training, and we were also very heavy into music. So I just picked up the name Wildside from a Motley Crue song. He picked up Way Cool from a Rat song, and that's honestly how we got named, Wildside and Way Cool. I wish it could be more creative than that, but no, that's just the way it ended up. So,
but the name is known all over this area. Everybody knows Wildside and Way Cool. If they don't know any other tag teams, I guess before we start, I want this book here you wrote, My Walk Through Indy Wrestling.
Yep.
And I've read it, gone through it, and there's so much.
Got a copy right here. Right here. There it is. There it is, right there.
Got my copy too.
Oh, good.
Yes, most definitely. You can pick up through Amazon, right?
Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I'm not 100% sure if it's on Books A Million, but yeah, it's definitely Barnes and Noble and Amazon.
Pick the book up. It's really good. It's a good read, I must say. In your walkthrough, you've had some excellent places, great places to wrestle. You've had some probably bad places to wrestle. We're not going to talk about those, but if you could tell me your maybe a top 5 place that you truly enjoyed wrestling, the crowd, the atmosphere, or whatever. If you had like 5 places anywhere that you've wrestled, and you've wrestled all over the place. You've wrestled in North Carolina, East Tennessee, West Tennessee. I don't know where else. You've probably been in Alabama. You've been in Kentucky. You've been all over.
Yes, yeah. So that's a very good question. When it comes to different points in time, I would say early in my career, absolutely loved Dyersburg Championship Wrestling in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Dale Walker was the promoter. Had Barry McCord there. He was manager / booker, I believe. Alan Walker was there. To me, that was a special time in wrestling. There was a few second generation wrestlers there, to my knowledge, but mainly it was a lot of guys kind of getting their start. And they ended up, out of that DCW, they ended up expanding to so many other promotions later on after that place shut down. I'd definitely say DCW and Dyersburg would be in my top 5. You cannot forget Killer Johns and MSWA. Right. And just going to Gibson, Tennessee, which is a really, really small town, but he had a loyal following. And, I came in on the tail end of probably MSWA. And I loved wrestling there. I got a funny story if you want to hear it about Killer here in a minute. If you'll remind me to say that. New Breed. And a lot of people ask me, did I like the original New Breed, or did I like, years later when I brought New Breed back to be New Breed Pro, which one did I really like better? It's hard because they were both different, but I really liked the early days of New Breed Championship Wrestling because it was a team of guys that was just set on, we're going to do something different that nobody else has ever done. And it was just a ragtag group, which New Breed Pro was a ragtag group, and always put on great shows. I wrestled for All Pro Wrestling up in East Tennessee, in Morristown, Tennessee, and I always remember that town because that probably was the largest crowd I think I'd seen at that point in my career. It was easily 1,000, maybe 1,500 people in the crowd, and you had Buddy Landell on the card. Some other Rock and Roll Express I think was there that night.
Okay.
But yeah, that I was wrestling a guy named Mr. Excellent, and he was actually excellent. I was young at that time. I was in my 20s. He was probably 35 years old, and you could tell he was a ring tactician. He knew what he was doing, and it was a good match. But to say that I messed up a lot would be an understatement. I was probably 2, maybe 3 years into my career at that point, and man, did he just outpace me in that ring. And he wasn't trying to do it. He was carrying me through that match, and I learned so much from that match that it helped me later on in my career. So yeah, that's some of the cities. I mean, so Morristown. I liked Elizabethton, Tennessee. That was another nice town we wrestled in. But yeah, good question.
All right, and I know I met you at TIWF. We spent a lot of time in the growth of a company from doing once a month in Brownsville to
Yep.
every week, weekly in Jackson, weekly to Trenton, and they're still going on strong. Um, if you can say any good memories, what good memories do you have at TIWF?
Oh, I have a lot of good memories of TIWF.
Okay,
For me, it seems like all the good memories are in the early stages of a company
absolutely.
because, I look back to TIWF and you're right. There was a period of time where we were doing road shows for a while, right? We didn't have a home base.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to me, it was a little bit more difficult. We were always just trying to get a place we could go to. And so we
Mm-hmm.
tried Jackson, but if you read in my book, that was a huge disaster financially.
Right.
But all those early days, and it was the early people like Big Boy Bob, Lawman Williams, Tank Turner,
Mm-hmm.
just to name a few that was there in the early days. That John Seymour, of course. Yourself, you came along, like you said, you met us, and I think it was probably 2006 or seven. I'm not sure,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it was good memories. Obviously, really good memory is the night, and you're not gonna like this story,
Oh
that
Lord.
myself and Way Cool, and I can't remember if Ravish and Randy was there or not, but we made a hot fudge sundae out of you in
Yes.
the ring. Okay. Yeah, and I really don't know whose idea that was, but I just remember that we had, I don't remember if we had ice cream. I think we had chocolate syrup. We
Mm-hmm.
had cherries because Way Cool was
Mm-hmm.
having a hard time getting the cherry jar open. So,
Right.
yeah, that entertaining aspect, I think that's what I've always liked about wrestling is it was more than just, moves. We told stories, right? We, we,
Mm-hmm.
we entertained above everything else. So, yeah.
Okay, that's good. And when you talk about all these guys, talk about all the stuff in your book, uh, I know you had some favorite particular people that you enjoyed wrestling.
Oh, yes.
That you really enjoyed. That you would probably, if I had an opportunity, I could wrestle them every day of the week
Today.
or whatever. Who would you say would be some of the maybe three of those three people that you say you probably wrestle
Well,
every day of the
I can name them right now.
week? Okay,
Number one always will be Saint Lobo, and
okay.
the reason is, I mean, he brought me in, and when we trained for my first match, we trained 4 nights a week for 6 weeks
Hmm.
on and the whole match we put together, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was the same series of moves, so I had done it 30 times or more, right? The night we wrestled and I debuted, I messed up like in the second move of the match. I don't know how you do that, And I talk about that in my book. As a matter of fact, we had spent so much time prepping on how to do the match.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever taught me how to walk to the ring.
Right. Okay.
So, me coming out of the curtain, that was weird for me for the first time coming out of the curtain and the crowd automatically booing me. And I don't even know what's going on. But yeah, I'd say St. Lobo, number one. Number two, PK Ripper. I
Okay.
think some of my better matches were against PK Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
We had a certain set of moves that we could do together that I couldn't necessarily do with other people. I tried over the years, but I would say St. Lobo number one, PK number two, Sonic Youth number three. I
Okay.
love my matches with Sonic Youth as well. I mean, we narrow it down to three, but there's a lot more. Actually, in my opinion, and a lot of people may not know this name if I say it. To me, the most well-rounded wrestler I found, who to me could wrestle a multitude of different styles, a multitude of different people, was actually the main event Stephen
Stephen
Rampage.
Rampage.
Stephen Rampage. I enjoyed working him too. One time he left a boot mark on my forehead, so how can you forget him? But no, to me, it was always entertaining. No matter what match he was in,
Hmm.
it always was good. And to me, just steady. It kind of reminds me of Steven Regal.
Okay.
Steven
Hmm.
Regal, just every match, good tactician in the ring. I'd say Stephen Rampage. So that'd be my number four.
Okay. 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 And you've had some great moments. You've had some fantastic moments. I've seen, like I said, you and Way Cool win titles. I've seen you win titles. Um, what would be like a couple of good that you would say just your best? I mean, when you were totally, you knew it when you walked out of there, win, lose, or draw, it was the best moment you've had in wrestling. One or two. You give me as many as you want.
The best moment. I don't remember the match. I got to tell you, but
Hmm.
I remember it was me and Way Cool standing in the ring, and the crowd was frantic. It was at TIW up. It was definitely in Trenton. I can tell you that. I don't remember the match, but I remember, we're in the ring celebrating. We may have won tag titles or something. I don't know. But I remember hugging him and said, "Look, you helped me build this." I remember whispering that to him, and he was like, "What?" I was like, "This, man. This is all because you. Yeah, I want you to think about that." And I remember telling him that because I always believed, that it didn't. It wasn't just built by one or two people.
Right.
It was everybody that came together as a group, whether it was Lawman and Bob or Randy or John Seymour or whoever, or Fusion, the young guys coming up. It didn't matter during that time frame. It was a group. It just seemed more like a team. And I remember specifically that moment, because that was pretty poignant because Way Cool was heading into retirement at that point.
Right. Okay.
So he wasn't going to be retired. He wasn't going to be wrestling very much longer. I knew it. Very
Hmm.
few other people knew it. The other poignant moment for me was probably my last match, my last official match against Quicksilver.
Okay.
And the end of that match, we had been building up this script where I've been using the figure four just because it's
Hmm.
something you can use on a lot of people, and I was beating a lot of people with the figure four. Well, we wanted it to be where he reversed the figure four in the match, and then I lost, right?
Hmm.
Because I always believed if you're going to retire, you got to pass the torch, you got to lose.
Right.
Uh, Quite frankly, I talked to Lawman Williams many years about how to retire. I talked to Devon Day about how to retire, and Devon was very specific about you got to pass the torch. So I guess I chose Quicksilver to be my opponent, and there are so many emotions in running in through my head, as we're having that match, because I know it is my last match. I know at that point, I am, I'll be the first to admit it. I am not as fast. I am not as good as I used to be. I
Hmm.
always felt I was still entertaining, but I felt, you got to know when to walk away.
Hmm.
And I felt that was the moment. Chose Quicksilver. We went through the match. It was a pretty good match. I won't say it was the best match I ever had, but it was really good. And he beats me, and it was just like a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders because no matter where I was in the wrestling business, I never asked to be in it to
Hmm.
start with. But no matter where I went, it seemed like the weight of the world was on my shoulders to carry the company or reinvent the company or reinvigorate the company or just keep it going. And, that is a lot of decades of pressure just to finally go, phew, I can walk off into the sunset. Now, and the dream is that it continues beyond you. You read my book and you
Hmm.
saw the heart and the passion that Trey Keller and Darren Bird put into TIWF in the early days. And the book talks a lot about them and that vision. And
Hmm.
for me, it's all about what legacy are you leaving, because you want somebody to come up behind you and carry the torch into the future always.
Okay. And since you started naming, I was going to do, but you've kind of taken my thunder there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
You're the host. I'm
What we're going to
sorry.
do is, no, we're going to do this. I'm going to give you some names, and you give me one sentence opinion about, what the
Okay.
best things about them or whatever. And we're
Okay.
going to start with Tim Edwards.
I'm sorry. Who?
Tim Edwards.
Tim Edwards.
Tim
Okay.
Edwards. Yeah.
Let me tell you the sentence I would say about him. If you don't have him booking your show right now, he should be, because he's a DCW, I guess, protege, or came from that Dyersburg Wrestling Federation back then.
Right.
But he was around so many wrestlers, whether it be Dazzling Dixie or just his dad, Loverboy Barry. There was a lot of experience that he has gained, and in fact, I think I actually talk about him when he was a booker for TIWF. I think he was one of the more solid bookers. So I know that's more than a sentence, but yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, we got
solid booker and solid worker too. So
okay. Okay. I'm gonna bring up
Kilo, innovative. I remember the first time I met Kilo, myself and Way Cool was wrestling him and his tag team partner, and they were younger than us. And I remember specifically telling Way Cool, these guys are good, especially the Kilo. I said he's really good. He's got something in the tank, and he had an energy about him, and his performances were never dull. So yeah, so I mean, if you watched a Kilo, it didn't matter who he was in the ring with. It's kind of like Stephen Rampage. Kilo's kind of that same way. It didn't matter who he was in the ring with. It was going to be a good match. And I've wrestled against Kilo. I don't know if I've ever been in a situation where we've tagged together, but I know we've wrestled against each other. And yeah, he could carry a match, definitely.
Okay. I'll give another blast from the past. Mark Southern.
Saw him recently, as a matter of fact. Hadn't seen him in many years. Yeah, I saw him over at PKAW one night, and
he's still in the business. He is.
Yeah, and I remember Mark from the early days. Now, this is weird, and this will sound weird because I've wrestled for so long, but a lot of people don't know. I actually had 12 documented concussions in my career. And in 2000 and I don't know, 6 or 7, I can't remember. The doctor said I do not need to take any more like chair shots to the head or head trauma, because I was a great candidate for cranial traumatic encephalopathy, which a lot of people call CTE. Right. So after that point, if you watch me on videotape, I only took headshots maybe 5 times after that. Because I knew the danger, and nowadays I still can't remember things as well, but I do remember Mark Justice. No, you say Mark Justice or Mark Southern?
Not yet, Mark Southern, but we'll catch him a little bit too. We'll catch Justice a little bit too. Yeah.
Okay, I don't know why I was thinking Mark Justice. Okay, there's my brain. Mark Southern, I'll tell you, man, one of the most entertaining storylines I ever saw was the Missouri Bad Boys versus Law and Order. It was Big Boy Bob and Lawman Williams, and it was at TIWF, and it was a fantastic match. And at the end of the match, they ended up getting arrested and thrown in the back of a patrol car and whizzed off out of Trenton, Tennessee. And that probably, I may have won match of the year that year. I mean, quite frankly, it probably could have won match of the decade. I thought it was great. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. Since you mentioned him, Lawman Williams.
One of the original OGs. Okay.
Sure.
A lot of people may not, especially the younger generation, may not know him as well, but they don't know just how important he is to the overall wrestling that happened in this area. To me, you talk about somebody carrying the torch. I felt he really carried the torch for TIWF. I felt, it's weird when you see things happen in real time, but I felt as Lawman was entering the end of his career, that kind of Chico Mendoza took over Lawman's spot
Mm-hmm.
to be, and I don't want to say be the new lawman, but be that person in the locker room,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, Lawman Williams, I loved wrestling Lawman. If you would have told me to expand it to 5 or 6 people, Lawman's probably in my top five.
Okay.
So yes, 100%.
And since we're in the same town, how about Big Boy Bob?
Big Boy Bob. I remember the first time we wrestled. Myself and Way Cool wrestled Big Boy Bob and his partner. They were called the Immortals, and we wrestled them in Kenton, Tennessee. And I don't remember what federation it was for. Maybe DCW. Maybe they were doing a road show. I can't remember. But
Mm-hmm.
back then, myself and Way Cool, we were probably 150 pounds, and these guys are 300 plus. And I didn't know who they were. I just know we were booked against them. When we get to the arena and we meet them, and I was terrified. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, how are we going to wrestle these? I can't do anything. I can't pick them up. I can't do anything. So in one essence, it taught me how to evolve a
Right.
wrestling match so that I can wrestle multiple. Up to that point, I've been wrestling mainly small people, other than Bearcat, and Bearcat would just throw you around. So yeah, Big Boy Bob. First time I met him, extremely intimidating. Got to know him, man. One of the best, and a great booker too, by the way. He had a mind for the business, and I will say one thing about him: he's way faster than he looks.
This is true. This is true.
He's much faster. I was messing with him one night, and I thought, hey, I'm just going to run away from him, and he chased me 2 blocks and caught up to me. So that's me being 150 pounds, him being 300 plus, and he chased me down. So yeah,
Well, he did work in police force, so I guess he had to learn
yeah,
to get away from that. How about how about Devon Day?
Devon Day.
Devon Day.
Yeah, Devon. Nah, yeah, you shouldn't have asked me a question that might upset me. You know what I'm saying? Oh, let me take a deep breath.
Okay.
Devon, oh, Hot Rod, see, you got to pull out the emotional stuff. Why do
It's
you do
okay.
that to me?
It's okay.
All right.
I've been that way ever since I wrote names down. So
So Devon was great. And I remember his slogan, Diamonds are forever, and so is Devon Day. And, the last time I actually physically saw Devon was at a Comic Con in Memphis. And we were doing the Newbury Pro thing, and he had come up to us, and he was excited that I was still doing the wrestling thing, and he was telling me just how, he was spending his time more with family and doing that type of thing, and he didn't really miss the wrestling business. I mean, you always kind of miss it, but he was having a new journey, I guess you could say,
right.
and yeah, I remember the last time I talked to him, but. Yeah, as far as in the wrestling business, I remember the first time I met him, me and Randy Bird had went scouting because we're looking for new talent to join our up and coming
Mhm.
restart of TIWF. And he is the only person I believe I've ever recruited to come to
Mhm.
TIWF. Me and Randy went up there and talked to him because I saw him in the ring and he was just light years ahead of everybody else. Great ring tactician, open minded. He believed in a lot of the same things that I did as far as like women's wrestling, and they weren't
Mhm.
second class citizens and they could just be as entertaining, if not more entertaining than the males. We didn't view the women wrestlers as TNA, we viewed them more as athletes and entertainers. And so with that, I think that's where I had a kinship with Devon. And we had a lot of great matches too. I
Do you
don't know who
think?
won them. I don't know who won them all. I'm going to say he
Do,
did.
let me ask a question about that. Do you think that if Devon in his prime in today that he would be able to survive in today's wrestling?
Well, I mean, what do you mean by survive? I mean, you
Well,
talking indies? You talking pros?
I know he'd survive in Indies. Do you think he would go farther as a pro? Because I just see him as the look and all the things I think that people want now. You
Yeah.
know, uh,
Well, good question. I think that's an interesting way to put it. Could he in his prime? 100%. There's probably, and this is the weird thing about indie wrestling, right? Some people are in it just for a hobby. Some are actually trying to make it to the next level. Some are content staying in the same promotion. And it's different strokes, different folks. And depending on the year, you might be really motivated to try to make it to the next level. Then maybe you're not, right? And that's okay because life happens, things change. But if because so you don't really know what his desire truly was, right?
Right.
If he wanted to do that, but I would say from a perspective of could he make it to the next level, I could name probably 4 or 5 people that I thought could have made it to the next level.
Okay.
And the problem is in wrestling, you got to think of it. There are just very few spots available at that next level.
Right.
It's not like the NFL or the NBA or
Right.
something like that. So it's fewer and fewer spots, and you really, really, it's one thing to be the big fish in a small pond, but
Mm-hmm.
then you got to be a big fish in a lake in your area, right? And then a region, and then a state, and then the southeast or whatever. So, do I think Devon had that ability 100%? I do.
Okay.
But he's not the only one. But I
Okay.
actually thought Devon did have that ability.
And we'll go through the rest of those, but I got a few other names here. Brian Durham.
Brian Durham. Okay. Hostile Brian Michaels.
Hostile Brian Michaels.
I can't really remember the exact first time I met him, but it was in MSWA, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I've always liked Brian, and he was the one that we were kind of grooming to take over New Breed Pro. So
Right.
I spent a lot of time with Brian, wrestled him a bunch of times. I've always liked Brian. Loyal, dependable,
Mm-hmm.
trustworthy. I mean, it depends on what aspect you're asking. What do I remember? Those are the things I remember about him.
Okay.
Good worker. I loved his gimmick when he started going with like the high priest and he wore this
Yeah, I
trench coat
remember.
type
Yeah.
thing. I thought that was a great gimmick. I really did. So yeah, but great worker.
Let me turn the page here. How about the $1 Million Baby?
$1 Million Baby. I remember her early on. She was named Twinkie early
Mm-hmm.
on. I think Bob named her Twinkie or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she came up once again. She was a product of a lot of training from Kilo and Devon Day in the early days, and she was wrestling with. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of women wrestlers back then. You had Black Widow, you had
Mm-hmm.
Venom, you had Angelina, and a
Right.
couple of others that we brought in from outside. But she is one that has taken, and I know she's taken time off here or there, like life happens.
Mm-hmm.
But over the course of her career, you could say that's been a very successful career and entertaining at the same time.
And uh, honestly, when I see pictures of Twinkie with a
Yeah,
softball bat in her hand, and I see the $1 Million Baby now, my heart kind of goes to a thump thump because, as I say, I can remember as well.
yeah.
Since you mentioned,
Well, she may not like the Twinkie reference, but
and maybe
that,
not, but
that's how it started out.
but
Yeah.
since you mentioned Black Widow,
Yes. Oh, what do I think about Black Widow? Probably top 5 wrestlers that I've met, and I think she's better than me. I think I would put her in the same ranking with Devon Day. You talk about somebody that coulda, woulda, shoulda. She
hmm
could. And the difference between her and a lot of the other female wrestlers, the best matches I saw her in was not against females; it was against males.
hmm
And Osby Tomlin comes to mind. One of the best matches I have physically seen, was Osby Tomlin versus Black Widow. So that's out there somewhere. But that was an excellent match. And yeah, she took on guys that were huge, huge, big
hmm
guys. And just, I can't take credit for all of her training. I started her out, but that's all I did. She learned along the way from other people. And yes, definitely top 5 talent. Um, definitely moves a roster. You would want to build a company. You would want if you were starting a company today. Devon Day and Black Widow would be the two that I would take, one male, one female, to start
right,
that promotion.
and I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that. Another blast from the past. I know we got some lot of names, but some of them started. when I was there. J Rage.
J Rage. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Man, he started out as, man, what was his name in the beginning? Superstar Johnny or something?
Yeah.
I think that was his name in the very beginning. But yeah, I saw something in him that I thought was special. Him and well, the Leon Kellum, who
Right.
became Jet, right?
Hmm.
So it actually, I believe it was my idea. I can't remember. I don't want to take credit for it if it wasn't. But I remember putting J Rage. Was it your idea? Your idea. Okay, your idea. Maybe I named them. Did I name them?
No,
Fusion.
I did all of that
You
fusion.
did all that. Well, then I'm going to take credit for it.
I take credit for. Well,
But
actually, you know what? Actually, no. You named fusion, but I changed the name how they named it.
you may be right on that. You may be right on that. Like I said, and that's what I liked about TIWF back in the day. It was a consortium of people coming together to develop ideas, and it wasn't. So here we are. Me and you were talking about this. It wasn't even us. It wasn't you. It wasn't me. Right? We're trying to figure out how to promote these incoming young guys. Right? We're trying to figure out how to package them more creatively. Right?
Hmm.
And it wasn't about us. It was about what can we do for them. And
Right.
I think a lot of that translation is lost nowadays. How many people are actually focused on the team instead of the individual, right?
True. True.
But back in the day, we were really focused about the team. So it wasn't, oh, is Wildside being promoted right? Has he got the belt? Is he doing this or that? I could care less about belts, right? We focused on Stephen Rampage. We focused on Fusion. We focused on Big Boy Bob or whoever the product was at that moment. But yeah, J Rage was really good, up and coming. We put him with Jet,
Jet.
and I remember I told Jet because they had started to turn heel, I believe,
Hmm.
and they had been babyface for a while. I remember telling Jet, all you got to do is go out there and tell the crowd to shut up. Just tell them shut up, and he
And
literally
that's it
said
now.
that, and that's all he does now is tells people shut up.
And it's done well with it. One
Yeah,
thing
he
about
did. Yeah.
there's one thing about Fusion. I always tell the story when we actually had the TIW website, and I would put videos of. I would go out to DeWitt Span Airport and see a plane coming in. I'm saying, well, here comes Fusion coming from out of town. I just take a picture of the plane. Or then
Yeah,
they walk to it. Never took a picture of them, but and people actually believed that they were
yeah,
like to the other.
yeah.
But that's
Good time.
wrestling is. You gave them, the idea that this was real.
Oh yes, yeah. Nowadays, I think the fans are way too smart. I mean, there's some hardcore people that still believe, I guess, but for the most part, they're kind of wise to it. But it's still, I mean, everybody wants the make believe to be true. At the end of the day, the guys that are wrestling nowadays, it's still entertainment.
Hmm.
And they have to remember that they have a show to go out there and put on because the people coming to that show, they may have other things going on in their personal life, and
Hmm.
coming to that show is their release. It's what gives them peace, it gives them happiness, gives them a sense of belonging, whatever. Um, and that's a huge responsibility, which is why a lot of guys didn't like me for this one aspect, and it was because I didn't believe that we should be partying before the match, drinking, doing drugs, anything like that. And I thought we had an obligation. I say this a lot. Sometimes the moment's larger than yourself.
Hmm.
And I think every Friday night, every Saturday night, that moment sometimes is larger than yourself. And you're out there providing a valuable service beyond what you could even possibly imagine. It's not just going about out there and doing two drop holds and a drop kick and a pin and you're done. You are affecting other people's lives, whether you know it or not. And they'll hate you, they'll love you. Um, the biggest compliment I think you could ever have is, but will they remember you, right?
Right.
And I never was a big fan of having people go out there and you could tell they're intoxicated because number one, it's dangerous. They got somebody else's life in their hands and easily could change the course of that person's life. And yeah, anyway. I don't know. We got off on a tangent there.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Another person that we definitely cannot forget, Chico Mendoza.
Chico Mendoza. Yes.
Mhm.
I already mentioned him earlier as far as, kind of was I don't know, the linchpin. If you look at Sean Williams, Lawman Williams being a linchpin for TIWF for so many years, then Chico Mendoza became a linchpin for TIWF for so many years. Um, I wish we would have, the one thing about after I left TIWF that I, you want to know a regret. A regret was that somebody didn't keep up with the title history as well as I did up until the point I
Right.
left. Because did Chico Mendoza have more title reigns than Lawman? Allegedly, but I'm going to go with Lawman. I'm sorry, Chico. Going with Lawman. Only
Chico
because
says he does.
yeah, and he may very well. But their career both lasted about the same amount of time, I would say. But yeah, no, linchpin for an organization, 100%, very loyal. Uh, for me personally, Chico never trusted anything I ever said. and I've known him personally, because I knew his family and so on and so forth. So that was always heartbreaking, is that he never could trust me when all I ever had for him was his best interest at heart. I will tell you, one of the weirdest matches. He did try. I can't say he never trusted me. We had a match one time, and I was the heel, he was the face, and I told Chico, I said, "Look, here's the deal. I think I need to go out there and just dominate this match. They're not going to expect this. I'm and it's a pride thing in wrestling. A lot of people have arrogance and egos and this and that, but he at least listened to me. I said, look, I'm talking, I dominate the whole thing. You get like maybe one punch throughout the match, and I'm going to dominate the whole thing. And then at the end, I want you to schoolboy me. Or no, it was a small package.
Mhm.
I said, you just small package. I said, I have a feeling, because he was on the rise as a face, and I was already kind of like a established heel. I said, I think if you do that, that'll really put you over. He went with it. We did that match, and the second he pinned me, it was like the roof blew off the place. And I was so thankful that I can't say he never trusted me. He did trust me in that moment, and he just exploded from that point as far as being a face. I mean, it really helped to really put him out there, right? He had beaten the evil Wildside, you know. Yeah.
I got about
So
four more names. I'm gonna be
okay, go
done.
ahead.
T Pain.
T Pain. I remember when he started.
T Pain.
I probably mentioned him in the book. Here's a wonderful thing. Everybody you're mentioning, I believe, is in this book.
I know. That's why I want to keep pushing it. Make sure
Oh, you keep pushing it. Okay, yeah, great.
remember to buy the
Uh,
book. Buy the book. You get a lot of this information.
oh yeah. Buy that book right now. Um, yeah. So T Pain, when he started out, my first impression of him, was a lot like J Rage. The very first time or two he was around, I think Devon was in charge of training him or something. I can't remember 100%, but I remember the first match. We would always put people against myself or Steven Rampage, because we kind of, were I would say, I don't want to diminish Rampage, but I consider myself average, but I could wrestle pretty much anybody at that point. So we put all the new guys against me so that I could kind of gauge, where are they at? What do they need more training on? And T Pain, the very first time I wrestled him, I remember going back to Devon and said, he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen at all. So I would say my first impression of him was he was hard headed. And it probably took him 2 or 3 weeks, but he kind of got over that hard headedness,
Hmm.
and then really, really started, because, I'm talking about when he was Sergeant Payne.
Right.
And then he started turning into T Pain,
T Pain.
right? And I think that it's weird how people transition as they transition their name, but I think he got better as time went on and became a tremendously solid worker. Once again, you might consider him a linchpin if you're building an organization, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, I remember it's stubborn at first, but very talented. So yeah, and he's done a lot over the
Yes.
years. So
Mamacita.
there you go again, Hot Rod. Man, you tug on heartstrings sometimes, man. Um, Yeah. So you talk about storylines that people don't agree with, right? I just told you the Chico storyline, right? Where
Mhm.
I dominated Chico the whole match and he won it and the crowd went crazy. Well, you might remember this. Devon Day had a match and he wrestled Mamacita.
Mhm.
And I don't really remember the match, so I can't comment on exactly how it went, but I know that Mamacita beat him.
Mhm.
And the crowd went crazy. And the AIWF, which he had the title for, lost their freaking mind because
Right.
he didn't okay it with them because he was doing it for that moment. She wasn't theoretically a wrestler, but
Right.
she was always Chico's. I guess you would call it a valet or
Mhm.
yeah. And but yes, awesome person. Yeah, I mean, so
Yeah, I
some
don't think it's. I don't. And actually, it was supposed to be a title match. I don't know where they actually put it in the records, but legitimately, she was the champion.
She was, and I don't know how she lost it back the next week or whatever, but that was Devon's doing. But also that tells you a lot because if Devon thought enough of her to do that, that's respect.
Right.
Because theoretically she wasn't in there all the time or in matches or this or that, wrestling for titles or this or that. But Devon did something, and right now there's going to be more than me and you that remember this, right?
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Yeah, but that tells you the impact that she had on people. That if somebody thought that much of her to do that. Somebody trying to call you, Hot Rod.
It doesn't matter. You're not supposed to count me. Never mind. Uh, okay. Drew Magruder.
Drew Magruder. Oh, hilarious. I love Drew. I love Drew. Once again, a guy that got recruited into the TIWF. Fantastic announcer. I mean, he had a leg up on everybody else because he naturally was an announcer.
Right.
So that made an easy transition. But yeah, Drew, I don't know that we did so many hijinks against Drew that we did against yourself or John Seymour. But, he was there. He was part of the storyline. He kept it flowing. I told Randy early on, Randy Bird, when we started TIWF, to me, one of the most important positions was the referee and the announcers because the referees have got to really keep the matches going. Make sure everything's flowing good. If you don't have a good referee, then it kind of ruins the talent that's in the ring, right? But if you got a referee that's really good, then it makes the match even better, right? And the announcers, they're so important. Like yourself, it's all about setting the story, telling the story. It's even better if you have history where you can recall, well, a year ago, Stephen Rampage lost the title to Chaos the Man or whatever, and you remember these things, right? Yeah, I pull out weird names from time to time, but yeah.
Don't
Anyway,
worry.
but
Part
yeah,
two. Chaos will be part two. Don't worry.
Chaos the Man's going to be in part two. Okay, good enough. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, announcers and referees very important to an organization. I don't even know how we got on that subject, but anyway, go ahead.
Oh, we talking about Drew Magruder, isn't it?
Oh,
Since
Drew
we're on
Magruder,
that,
yeah, announcer. So yeah, let me get back to that. So Drew, yeah, very pivotal in setting the story and keeping the story going and keeping the flow of the show going. Yeah, really good,
so let's go to John Seymour.
brilliant.
Last one, John Seymour.
I started out with the word brilliant, creative. If you were to describe somebody, a brilliant, creative. I felt I had a special kinship with John just because of his creativity. Um, it just when we used to do the TV shows together, and just his creativity on thinking of how can we do shows, and he always had the knack like I did where it's got to be entertaining, and all wrestling doesn't have to be I'm going to stomp a mud hole in you and all that kind of good stuff, right? There's got to be some comedic relief somewhere, and I can't tell you the number of times that John provided that or that John was a part of that. And to me, one of the more entertaining people that I wanted to be around, just because no matter what we did, it was like comedic genius, right? Myself, John Seymour, Way Cool, whoever it was, it was always really funny and entertaining. So yeah, I would
Okay,
say brilliant.
the last person. Wildside, the wrestler.
Average. I felt I was average. I felt that there was a tremendous amount of other wrestlers that was better than me always. I knew I wasn't the worst, but it definitely was not the best. Uh, I felt a huge obligation to always carry whatever organization I was with. I wanted to try to contribute as much as I possibly could to make the organization better. Um, I never wanted titles. I never asked for titles. More times than not, I wouldn't take them. I always wanted somebody else. So I guess in a lot of ways, I was kind of humble as far as, I wasn't in it for that. I was in it for the team value. Is the team entertaining? Is the team winning? And that was always my perspective. Unfortunately, we did. I say unfortunately, I guess it's a good thing. We did end up with titles, but one of the weird, interesting things is I only held a heavyweight title for 2 weeks
Mhm.
in my entire career. Um, and for a while, it's because I was too small, right? But overall, when you get a title put upon you, it is the organization's blessing that you're carrying them,
Right,
right? You're
right.
carrying either, you're the heavyweight champion, you're the cruiserweight champion, TV champion, whatever, tag team champion, women's champion. You're carrying that organization. And I've seen a lot of guys that, they put a title on and then the next week they don't even show up.
Mhm.
So, when you had a title on you, you have to be way more responsible than everybody else because the organization is counting on you to be there, right? They invested that into you. They didn't do that lightly. They wanted you to be the guy or the girl. So yeah, but yeah, me as a wrestler, I would say average. I felt, and a lot of people would probably agree, I was probably more entertaining than I was athletic. You know, um, a lot of people said I had the gift of gaffe. I could talk, right?
Mhm.
I would say stupid things on the microphone a
True.
lot, but it was always entertaining. So I guess that's my mark. I hope to leave was that I was entertaining. I mean, who else wrestles Invisible Danny B, or
This is
loses,
true.
or
I
loses,
remember that too.
or loses to a broom? I mean, yeah. Yes, some weird things have happened over the years, but yeah, the Invisible Danny B. Maybe we can get that next time.
We'll talk about that next time. Now you've retired.
Yes.
You're not wrestling anymore. So what are we doing now?
Music. So what I was doing before I started wrestling was music, 100%. We have a band. Way Cool was in the band for a while. I lost your visual there, Hot Rod. Are you supposed to go?
You're by yourself.
Oh, I'm by myself. Okay, you're over there eating a sandwich. Way to go, Hot Rod. Anyway, yeah. So just doing the music thing right now. Here it is. That's our.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that.
Oh,
The glare on it's probably too much. Yeah,
okay.
well, the glare is too much. But I have a band called After Eden.
Mhm.
Been doing that for a while. Myself and Way Cool was in a band before we ever started wrestling. So naturally, after wrestling, we just started back into music. We released a debut EP in 2021.
Mhm.
I'm not 100% happy with it because the production we could have probably done a little bit better. This year we've already been in studio. We have it. We have a new album coming out. It'll be After Eden. The album title is Season of Change. It should be coming out about May of this year.
Okay.
I am more happy with this album. So hopefully we're going to really be pushing that to get on some radio airwaves. And you know you never say never about wrestling. You never can tell when somebody may show back up. You know
You're
what I'm
right.
saying?
You're
Yeah.
right.
I've been waiting for a while to get a call to be like the secret mastermind behind a plot to take over an organization or something, but I haven't
Well,
got that call yet.
well,
So
I'll call Tony Khan and see if we can do that. Okay.
okay, yeah,
I got a number. Well, anyway, we're gonna close this up. But
all right.
is there anything that you really want to say? If you had opportunity, you've got 2 minutes to tell me what you want to tell me. Hop the book, whatever you feel like you want to do. This is your time.
Well, I think overall, you said 2 minutes, man. That's not a lot of time for somebody that talks a lot.
Hey, you can
Uh,
go three. We're good.
okay, good enough. I would say, man. Well, obviously, yeah, my book. Look. selfless plug here. My
That's right.
Wildside, my Walk Through Indy Wrestling. Got to buy that. Go out and find After Eden. It's hard to
Okay.
see it, maybe if I glare it that way.
Mm-hmm.
After Eden, Under the Gun. That's our EP. And look for After Eden Season of Change, hopefully to be out on all your major streaming platforms come about May. So just keep an eye out for that. But back to the wrestling. What I would say about the wrestling, the guys that are in it now, develop a brotherhood. I believe a lot of the ways of the old have passed by, and every generation has a responsibility to continue it for the next generation. Otherwise, it does go away. And somebody's got to be the linchpin for the organization. Somebody's got to be true to the team. Somebody's got to be there and be that spokesperson that stays with that federation to help it grow. And, but at the same time, don't limit yourself. You also have to get out there and get opportunities if you actually want to advance. So, I mean, it's different strokes, different folks. But at the end of the day, I would say don't lose the passion. Remember why you're in it, have fun, and be entertaining. Uh, there was a famous line in a movie. Oh man, I think it was Step Brothers. Don't lose your dragon.
There
Right?
you go. Don't lose your
Don't lose
dragon.
your dragon. So yeah, I guess that's how we wrap it up. And be thankful because it doesn't last forever. Live in the moment. Take that moment to stand inside the ring and just look at the crowd and look at what you built. Look at what you have become. Be proud for yourself. Be proud for your teammates. Proud for your organization, and be thankful because the two shall pass. And then you have to figure out what do you do in the next phase of your life, because wrestling for most will not be your entire life.
Right.
So find that passion somewhere else in life as well. Whatever inspires you.
You
Does that sound
heard
good?
that. That's why you're the straw that stirs the drink.
I am the
I made that up. I
franchise.
made that up.
Yeah, you made that up. Bullet in the Beretta, straw
There
that
you
stirs
go.
the drink.
And
Tiger
of course
blood.
you are the franchise. I mean, and let me say this now. I can say it in front of whatever, and I have to thank you personally, both you and Randy, because you all gave me an opportunity that you didn't have to do. And you both have befriended me through thick and thin, through my ups and through my downs. And so I will never be able to repay what you guys have done for me. And I want to say that. But anyway,
Oh,
Wildside.
hey, real quick, I think I could probably speak for Randy, and I'll say this myself too. It's a mirror, man. You did the same thing for us, whether you knew it or not. You were so integral to us growing during that time frame, and I'll speak for him. I think both of us are tremendously appreciative for that. So
Man, I just want to have fun. I
yeah,
want to be around
and we
guys. I
did.
want to have fun. And now that I'm older, I can reminisce on all those times,
Yes,
and they make you feel good.
they do, and that is what you're looking for. Those moments in time. And so, as jaded as the world is, there's still a lot of good out there. And we created a lot of good. We created a lot of memories.
We did.
And yeah, we did it together and we did it as a team.
Well, anyway, again, my walk through indie wrestling, James Mia, Amazon. Where did you say? Where else it is?
Barnes and Noble, I believe. Yeah.
Barnes and Noble. Order it, get it, read it. I promise you, you will enjoy every minute of it.
Thank
For
you.
Wildside, this Hot Rod. Oh, and don't forget, After Eden.
After Eden. Yep.
All right, it's coming up. Wildside, can I have you back in a little while, in a few months, a couple months?
Yeah, absolutely.
Matter of fact, I know I want you before the album comes out, but I want you one more time even between that, because we're going to talk about the album, and we're going to take the time to talk about the group.
Okay, that'll be fine. I love it. I love it. Love everybody.
Thank you, man. I tell you what, this Hot Rod with the hot shot, we'll be back later.